All right, let's talk about Disney. When you think of Disney, your mind probably goes straight to magic, right? Castles, fairy tales, all that stuff. But what if I told you that the most powerful magic they have isn't in any of their movies, that it's actually happening in the real world? What if their biggest secret has nothing to do with wishing on a star and everything to do with control? Yeah, you heard that right. The real magic of Disney isn't the castle, it's the control. From the second you set foot in one of their parks to the movies you grew up watching, pretty much every single piece of that experience is designed. It's meticulously, brilliantly, and a lot of the time invisibly controlled. So, what is this huge secret then? Well, it's not some cute hidden Mickey or little Easter egg in a movie. No, no. It's way bigger. It's a strategy. It's architecture. It's a whole corporate philosophy that's been hiding right out in the open for decades. And look, this isn't just some fam theory from a dark corner of the internet. The clues? They're everywhere. They're literally in the architectural blueprints, they're laid out in official corporate strategy, and they're even studied in academic journals. So today, we're going to peel back the curtain on 3 layers of this massive illusion, and we're going to start with the very ground you walk on. Okay, so here's part 1, Secrets in Plain Sight, the architecture of illusion. This is where things get really fascinating. This is all about how Disney uses the physical space of their parks to basically shape your feelings, guide where you walk, and even mess with your perception of reality. It's way more than just pretty buildings. It's like a form of psychological guidance. So you know about Easter eggs, right? Those little inside jokes creators hide for fans to find? A great example is the number A113. It's a nod to a classroom at CalArts, and you'll spot it in almost every Pixar movie. But the secrets we're talking about in Disney parks, they're on a whole other level. They're not just there for a quick laugh. They're actually designed to influence you. Get this, Walt Disney himself had a name for one of his favorite control tricks, the weenie. And no, I'm not talking about a hot dog. A weenie is a huge, eye-catching landmark, think Sleeping Beauty's castle, that basically acts like a giant magnet. It just pulls you towards it. It draws you deeper into the park. And without you even realizing it, it's directing thousands of people. It gives you a destination, something you just have to get to. But the most brilliant trick, the one that's literally all around you when you're on Main Street, USA, is something called forced perspective. Now, this is an old trick from filmmaking, but Disney's Imagineers took it and applied it to actual buildings on a massive scale. And its whole purpose is to deliberately mess with your sense of size and distance. So how does it work? Well, it's actually pretty simple, but totally genius. You see, the first floor of all those shops on Main Street, that's built to a normal, regular scale. But then, if you look up, the second floor is secretly smaller. It's built at a 5/8 scale. And the third floor, even smaller. That's built at just half scale. The result? A crazy powerful optical illusion that makes a 3-story building look like a towering 5- or 6-story skyscraper. And here's the real kicker, the psychological reason they do it. When you first walk into the park, full of energy, the castle looks huge and far away in the distance, right? It promises this giant, epic day of adventure. But at the end of a long day, you're tired, your feet hurt, you turn around to leave, and suddenly that same street seems way shorter. It feels like an easy, manageable walk to the exit. The street didn't shrink, but your perception of it? Yeah, that was totally controlled. Okay, so that's pretty wild. Disney can control what you see and where you go. But what about controlling what you remember or what you think is valuable? Well, that brings us to our next section, the business of nostalgia and how they engineered it with the legendary Disney Vault. You know, the whole Disney Vault thing, it started way before DVDs or even VHS tapes. Just look at this timeline for Snow White. It came out in 1937, right? Then they re-released it in theaters about every 7 years. Now, that 7-year gap wasn't an accident. It was a strategy. It created this artificial scarcity, making sure that a whole new generation of kids could see it for the first time on the big screen. Every single re-release became this huge cultural event. But here's the thing, vaulting isn't just a cute marketing gimmick. It's really a 3-part corporate strategy. First, there's the safekeeping part, locking films away to make them feel more special and valuable. Second, there's permanent burial, hiding stuff that just doesn't fit the squeaky clean modern Disney brand. And maybe most importantly, it's about sanitizing history. You know, erasing the complicated or problematic bits to create this perfect, shiny corporate image. And if you want the perfect example of this in action, look no further than maybe the most controversial film Disney ever made, 1946's Song of the South. This movie is the ultimate case study in how the vault isn't just used to make money, but to control a very difficult part of its own history. So for the longest time, the official line was basically, yeah, that film's locked away, it's just too offensive. But the real story is a lot more complicated. Check this out. It's an ad from 1992 for a home video release in the UK. So while it was never ever released on video in the United States, you could totally buy it in other countries for years. Okay, now fast forward to 2020. Here's a quote from Bob Iger, who was the CEO at the time. He says, "It's just hard, given the depictions, to bring them out today without offending people, so we've decided not to do that." This shows a huge shift, right? They went from making it available in some places to a full-on strategy of permanent burial for today's audience. So what does this all mean? It means the vault isn't some dusty, locked room. It's a flexible corporate tool. Think about it. The very same movie was playing in US theaters as late as 1986. You could buy it on video in the UK in 92, and its characters were the stars of a major theme park ride for decades, all while it was officially vaulted. It lets Disney show a different version of its own history depending on who's asking, where they are, and when they're asking it. All right, so Disney controls what you see, where you walk, and even which parts of its own history you're allowed to know about. But this last layer of control, honestly, this is the most shocking one of all. This isn't about optical illusions or clever marketing. This is about the law. And you won't find the secret hidden in a theme park. Nope, it's buried deep inside Florida's legal code. And it's all laid out in research from places like the FSU Law Review. And trust me, this is the biggest jaw-dropper of them all. Okay, here it is. Get ready for this. The Walt Disney World Resort is not actually located in any city or county in Florida. It exists inside its very own, totally unique governmental district. Which, immediately makes you wonder, if it's not in a city or county, then who governs it? Who's in charge? Who makes the rules? The answer is something called the Reedy Creek Improvement District, or RCID for short. It was created way back in 1967 by the state of Florida, and it's a special district that basically gives the Walt Disney Company the power to govern itself. They have pretty much the same authority as a regular city or county government. And the powers they were granted, it's just incredible. The RCID let Disney issue its own tax-free bonds. It could build and maintain its own roads and utilities. It could create its own building codes and do its own inspections. It could operate its own fire department. The law was so broad, it could have even, potentially, let them build their own airport or, get this, a nuclear power plant. That is a level of corporate power you just don't see anywhere else. And that's when you see how it all connects, right? From the visual tricks that guide you down Main Street to the corporate vault that shapes your nostalgia, all the way to creating a literal private government with the power of a city. The story of Disney's magic is really a story about one thing: achieving total control. So I'll leave you with this final question to chew on. When magic requires this much incredible, layered, meticulous control, where does the fairy tale stop and the corporation begin? It's something to think about next time you find yourself walking down Main Street. Thanks for tuning in.